Back on HQ Post Round, where a Saturday 71 for Scottie Scheffler was enough to extend his 36-hole lead by one more stroke here at 54. 4 clear heading into Sunday action on CBS. Scheffler, efforting his 5th win already of the season, will be the first of his career beyond the month of April. A pristine day at Jack's Place calls for a trip into the Super Tower. Our guy Trevor Immelman is standing by. Trevor, great to see you after a day of golf like this. And again, it's Scottie Scheffler's greatness on display for all of us once again. Was not a day without incident, but the bounce back evident once again. How do you frame this Saturday round for Scottie?
Well, it was a roller coaster, wasn't it? You know, off to the brilliant start with birdies at 2 and 3. Then he comes undone at the par 5 when he sculled it over the back into the creek. Then the out of bounds ball to the left of the 9th, which is so unusual for him. But then immediately he bounces back with birdies after that. 2 birdies in the next 3 holes. So it was a roller coaster, but he hung in there, and he actually found a way to increase his lead from 3 to 4 on what was a very, very difficult day at Muirfield Village. It
certainly was. Muirfield Village, as we know, designed to identify the best in this game, and maybe this week it's identifying how much better the best is right now. Scottie Scheffler again extending himself over the field, but he is really only his only comparison point right now. So I want to take you back to last year. It was the putter, the only crutch that kept him from that handshake from Mr. Nicklaus. It was the asset that kept this round at times on the rails, Trevor. Where have you seen the material improvement, not just from the numbers, but in the way he's standing over putts right now?
Yeah, for sure. He absolutely looks more confident since he went to this mallet-style putter at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. The way he's gripping the club, for me, his shoulders look more relaxed. He's just less anxious over it. And because of the way that this putter head swings, he's starting more and more putts where he wants to. So the confidence is just building. And shucks, he is going to be so tough to beat. He's now 5 for 7 with 54-hole leads on the PGA Tour. And now he's going to start out with a 4-shot cushion tomorrow. I think he'll put it in cruise control. Maybe the lead will get a little closer at some point, but he's going to do just enough to make sure that he stays ahead.
Yeah, he survived a 3-shot swing and a triple bogey and extended his lead by 1 on Saturday. I'm not sure what it's going to take on Sunday, but it's going to be a blast to watch it all come to pass. And it's always great when we see you guys in the booth. We get Mr. Nicklaus up there, and he offers his perspective on it all. Sitting next to the greatest major champion the game has ever seen, watching the greatest of our time right now play, did that offer any different perspective here on Saturday?
Well, look, it's a thrill for me. I've told Mr. Nicklaus many times, I fell in love with the game watching him win the Masters in 1986. That was the first major championship that I watched on TV back in South Africa, and I was just 6 years old. And the way he played on that Sunday, and in particular the back 9, was really what gave me the inspiration to really fall in love with this game. So the opportunity that I have now to sit up with him and Jim here in the booth and call some action for a couple hours, it's pinch myself kind of stuff, and I can't wait for tomorrow. This is always one of my favorite weeks of the year.
Beautiful stories always being told in that booth. Trevor Immelman, we appreciate you for sharing that one, and we will see you on Sunday, my friend.
Thanks, Joe.
And don't forget, we are a half-hour early on our coverage window this Sunday. Final round action beginning on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus from Jack's Place at our place. CBS, 2:30 Eastern. Join us, won't you? Back on HQ Post Round. Leader by 4 with a triple bogey. Does anybody know any hard games? Head and shoulders better than the rest. Scottie Scheffler positioned for his 5th victory of the season. 18 holes remaining and 4 shots clear. A 71 on Saturday. Plenty to cozy him next to Mr. Nicklaus and that handshake. Our guys from the First Cut podcast weighing in. Rick Gaiman joining the conversation alongside Kyle Porter. Fellas, let the record reflect. I want to get the number right here. 2:31 on Saturday. It was Vince.gif. It's not the earliest ever, but it might be on the podium. We are seeing special stuff right now. And to your point there on Twitter, KP, it has all the hallmarks of greatness. Within a couple strokes through 18, 3 shots clear at the halfway mark. You could pretty much engraved the thing on Saturday night. It feels familiar. We don't need to go to that comparison point, but right now as you try and put it into context, KP, what is your favorite maybe most exciting aspect to the greatness we're watching right now?
Yeah, I think it's the consistency. I mean, it's one thing to do this at a single tournament. We've seen that from a bunch of different guys over the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, kind of since Rick and I have been covering the sport. But the consistency of Scottie to do this day after day, tournament after tournament, and starting to be, as Rick pointed out earlier, year after year, that to me is when you start to get into some really historic stuff. You know, I was just asking our CBS Sports stats guys, hey, give me some, like, throw some historic stuff at me. And the best one that they could come up with was, if Scottie wins tomorrow, he'll be the fastest to 5 wins in a PGA Tour season since Tom Watson in 1980. And that's crazy. Like, you know, not Tiger, not JT, not Spieth, not Rory, but Tom Watson in 1980. So I think it's just that consistency day in and day out. And you know, remember when Scottie couldn't putt? I mean, the putter's hot, and now we're getting into, like, hey, if the putter's going to cooperate, this is what he's going to do for the rest of the year.
I think it's also worth pointing out that, you know, all these great stats that you hear from comparisons to 1980 or 1990 or any other era feel much more impressive right now. I mean, the game is the deepest it's ever been. We've got superstars all over the place. We've got kids turning pro and immediately making impacts. Like, it's so good right now, and Scottie is dominating. It's not even close. He's the best player in the world. He is on nearly every single week, nearly every single shot. You know, he is gaining over 11 strokes on approach alone through the first 3 rounds. In the era, the ShotLink era, that we've been able to calculate that, it's the 6th best opening 3 rounds of any tournament in that era. It's about 21 years worth of data. So there's just a new stat every week. There's a new first seemingly every single week. I'm trying to remind everyone, and Kyle is as well, like, soak it in. This is a historical moment. We are in the midst of it. Enjoy this.
Yeah, Jim Nantz on the broadcast sitting next to Mr. Nicklaus, rattling off one of his legendary seasons in the 80s and then comparing it to Scottie's, and Jack said, I'll take it. I'll take this year any year. And that's when you know you are occupying some heady space, no doubt about it. Specific to Saturday, Rick, was there a statistical number, that stood out to you? I know KP and I earlier talked a bit about the bounce back ability following the struggles. Did anything jump off the page at you numerically?
Yeah, I was digging through the database just before we went hot here, and the fact that Scottie Scheffler lost 2 strokes off the tee, the fact that he still gained more than 3 shots to the field during that round, and last I checked, and I get the final number here, but he had lost strokes around the green as well. That's an incredibly rare combination of things to do. Usually, if you drive it as poorly as Scottie did statistically on Saturday, you do not shoot around multiple strokes better than the rest of the field, and if you do, you are usually saved by a short game or a hot putter or something like that. And that's not what Scottie did. He putted great, but he picked up another 4+ strokes on approach. I mean, to put this into perspective, it's nuts. He's gained over 3.5 shots to the field each round on the second shot alone, on that approach shot alone. I mean, we are very much in uncharted territories right now. So this is a statistical makeup of a round that we rarely see on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of what I've kind of been harping on is this ability when you don't have one part of your game to pick it up with the rest is very unusual, right? Because we look at guys like, take a Rory McIlroy. Okay, if driver's not working, he might be in some trouble, right? He's got a very good game elsewhere, but the driver is clearly the thing that he leans on. When Colin Morikawa's iron play isn't working, he might be in some trouble. When Scottie Scheffler has one part of his game that's not working, everything else can fill in the gaps, and he's still going to break par. And I think that's what's kind of remarkable about Patrick McDonald and I were talking about this going into the weekend of, like, it's so unfair that he's not only the best approach player, as Rick pointed out, he's probably the best driver in the world so far this year. He wasn't today, but throughout the year he is. And then he's got maybe the best short game in the world. He's second behind Hideki Matsuyama in terms of strokes gained around the green. So you combine all that with the mental side, the course management, and he will have days where he has holes, but he won't have weeks where he has holes because everything else can kind of plug those holes.
Okay, you got my wheels turning here, so I want to pause the serious conversation for a moment. you can have one aspect of Scottie Scheffler's game added to your bag, not the irons. We're pulling the irons out. Driver, wedges, putter, or as you said, course management, KP. What are you adopting into your game?
Well, I'm kind of an elite driver of the golf ball, so I probably wouldn't pick that. But no, honestly, it would be his short game. His short game is so good, and it actually reminds me of. It kind of dawned on me a couple years ago that John Rahm, when he won the Memorial, I started thinking like, man, it's so crazy that John Rahm's short game is as good as it is because he's so elite from tee to green. That's exactly how I feel about Scottie. I think his short game is underrated, and I think it's kind of the reason that I've been yelling about how he's going to win Pinehurst by like 5 strokes next week at the U.S. Open for the last month. I mean, I was saying that with you guys at the PGA Championship. It's because of that short game that I think it doesn't get a ton of attention, but I think it's super underrated and it's extraordinary compared to everybody else in the world.
Yeah, that's a good one. If I was another PGA Tour player, I would take his short game. But for me, it's the driver. And, you know, for the way that he does it, it's never pretty, and it's probably the ugliest when he has the longest club in his bag because you get the full shuffle. You get him kind of bailing out and trying to do a bunch of different things. But he hits it so far. He lands it exactly where he wants. He understands his shot shapes, right? I mean, he knows he can start it on one specific line and have it fall 3 yards to the right. Or if he needs to draw a ball around a corner, he can do that. He can cut corners. He's long enough to do that. It's just so dangerous because that's the one spot that you know every single golfer is going to start from, right? They get to play from the same position. They put it on a tee, and he's already separating himself there. It's unbelievable how many assets he has, and that's my favorite.
The last thing that this field needs is a steeper hill to climb to catch him, but that appears what Sunday at Jack's Place is going to present. A firm, fast golf course, Rick. Does that only further separate Scottie Scheffler from those next closest?
It certainly does, Joe. Yeah, we're getting a situation where this is a golf course that already just rewards unbelievable tee to green play. You know, we see great ball strikers like Victor Hovland get on the wrong side of it, small mistakes everywhere, and they start to compound, and now you're kind of out of the tournament. Scottie Scheffler does not make multiple mistakes in a row. That's one good thing. And his distance control, his spin control, his strategy is best on firm and fast conditions because it's going to be so demanding to every single person in the field. So yeah, as this gets ratcheted up, the more difficult, the better for Scottie. You don't want an event where it's a birdie fest. We know the best players in the world don't want that. So yeah, it's already going to be difficult to try to track him down, but you're going to try to track it down for conditions that are best for him.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that, like the Sunday's going to highlight his course management, right? This is the Tiger playbook where you get up big on Saturday, and then you widen your dispersion on Sunday to where you're playing to the fattest side of the green. You're just not going to shoot 75. Like, you just take 75 completely out of the picture. Scottie doesn't shoot 75 anyway, but now there's like a 99.9% chance he's not going to shoot 75. So he's just going to make par, and he's going to ratchet up that course management side. And so you're going to have to go out and shoot 66, 67, 65 to beat him probably. That's just problematic. Like, that's going to take a really, really special round. And it could happen. Like, Colin Morikawa could go shoot 66 tomorrow, but it's going to be very difficult to catch Scottie because of that course management side and because he's so good at just pounding greens. And he's going to be even better at it tomorrow, I think, because he's not going to have to take any risk at all to win this golf tournament.
All right. Rundown says pick to win, fellas. I'm going to do it for us. Everybody on 3, Scottie Scheffler. Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, we appreciate you guys as always. I get not in the way of the greatness that is, but we can all save some time here. Fellas, we appreciate it. The conversation continues on the First Cut podcast. You know, Greg Ducharme's going to be mad at me. I didn't get him on the last promo. So, Greg Ducharme, Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, Patrick McDonald, Mark Immelman, a cast of characters always on the First Cut podcast. Join them